And now, how about drums? An instrument everybody loves.
Hello everybody, welcome back as ever. I'm a little blurry, aren't I? Welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera and watch as things go boom, for the most part, because Lord knows Minecraft ain't stable at the best of times. Hang on, let me see if I can just fix this up a little bit. Just a smidgen. There we go. And you are a crisper line for all your desires. Right. So, I don't think we did. My memory is terrible right now because I cannot remember what I did yesterday for the most part, except that I did a very large amount of stuff yesterday, so my brain is a bit empty. My brain is a bit empty today. But on the bright side, we now have heating. Hadn't had that since like Sunday, so that's good. Yeah, I guess my brain is kind of running in low power mode, I guess. Anyways, what I have mostly been working on is a degree of texturing. So now I have a few new textures, including for guano. And I have also implemented a block from the 1.12 versions called the Alchemical Alembic. This is fairly straightforward. It's controlled with the exact same methodology as the mixer and the centrifuge, and it requires a little bit of water, a fuel source, and optionally something here. So let's see, the first thing that I could show off with this particular recipe is, I'm gonna need some water, and let's go for a little bit of coal. Okay, so put the bat guano in there, add some water, and give it some heat. And it needs some particles to make it a bit more clear that it's working, but in about 10 seconds, we should get ourselves a little output here. There we go. And that made us some saltpeter. This is not, technically speaking, 100% accurate to actual chemistry of how you turn bat guano into saltpeter, but it's close enough. The actual process would be like a cyclical thing of putting it into like a cauldron with water and then putting it on a drying rack over and over and over. So I figured that was maybe way too much, considering that gunpowder literally walks up to you in this game. So yeah, but that's how you make saltpeter. That said, however, what we can also do is take, let's see, a couple of water bottles, because we're going to need some water here. There we go. And let's add ourselves some nether wart right there, bouncing and bubbling away. I do like the way I do like the way that the items bob. That's nice. I like it. And this will take 20 seconds because that's how long brewing recipes take. So, in the meantime, I guess I should do some squats, huh? Oh, nope, there we are. And there we have an awkward potion. And if we wanted to, we could continue this pattern, and let's say we want a speed potion. Sure. Needs more fuel. Gotcha. Coal block could do the trick. Okay, while that's running, guess I'll do my squats. If my camera looks a little out of place compared to usual, it's because I actually had to move my camera recently to do some filming. So, yeah. Here is my outfit. It's very simple. And blessedly the internet cannot see how hairy my legs are because I haven't had time to shave them lately. Alright, 20 squats. Here we go. Hope the gremlin's happy. 1, 2, oh, this was a mistake. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh boy, there goes most of my right leg. Okay. It's interesting when you get old and suddenly all of you've made a poor crackling. Okay. And here we have Carol wearing her October best. Okay. That has now finished processing, so now we actually have a potion of swiftness. And we can even go further by giving it some redstone or some glowstone dust, for instance, and making ourselves an even higher tier. An even higher tier of potion. This is a distinction from the 112 version, in that the Alembic is now capable of making any potion. As long as you don't mind it being 1/3 the efficiency of materials. Because of course it only makes one potion at a time. The second thing is that, as near as I can tell, it's a little hard to tell about having other mods in this with this environment. This is actually a functioning fluid tank, specifically for water. So if you have a mod with pipes, for instance, let's say create, you can actually autonomically fill this, rather than having to right-click it as I did. In theory. As I say, little tricky to test. You can also fill it via using the hoppers. So the relative left side, if this is head-on, goes to the output slot and secondary input slot. The rear and the front always go to the fuel slot, and above and to the right always go to this sort of chamber in here, the cucubit. More or less anything can go in there, so on the off chance that you accidentally hex something off, there you go. The underside will always, it'll go through output, fuel, and then the cucubit by itself, but it'll always go through all of them eventually. So, pretty handy. I always like to make sure that my things can be automated, because I like automation, it's one of my favorite things, so, yeah. Other than that, and that did take a fair bit of work, I have to say. One detail I have not noted just yet is that this watercolor here is drawn from the biome it's placed in. If it was placed in a swamp, or say a desert, or say a deep ocean, or some such, the watercolor would actually be different. Which I like, it's a nice little detail. I don't think there's any huge news otherwise. I've done a bunch more textures. Apparently the one I'm missing is dark vision, which is what we worked on last time. But I'm probably going to change these a little bit because I'm not 100% satisfied with them, but we have milk fat, saltpeter, brimstone, otherwise known as sulfur. You get this from centrifuging netherrack. Salt, you get that from centrifuging buckets of water. It does also give the bucket back, so yay for that. And if you mix brimstone, saltpeter, and charcoal, you get access to gunpowder. So let's see if I can even do that, because I've been messing around with how the recipes work, and I may have therefore hecked myself over. Apparently I can make coal from okay. There we go. Gunpowder. So, from there, it makes 4. I don't know if 4 is necessarily, like, 100% worth it for all the effort you have to go through. Because you have to go to the Nether to get netherrack, and then you have to centrifuge the netherrack to get the brimstone, and you have to also find some bats and somehow automate collecting their guano, and then you have to put that through an alembic process to get saltpeter, and then also you have to have a tree farm, presumably, to make the charcoal. So that's a lot of work to make 4 gunpowder. But it's a process that does not require you to even remotely, like, endanger yourself. So it's something. It's a nice, safe way of doing that. Unless you've somehow angered the bats, I guess. Maybe don't anger the bats. Yeah, I've been trying to get recipes to auto-generate rather than having to type them out myself each time down here. I guess technically speaking this is still me typing them out, but you get the idea, I hope. But currently gunpowder is about the only one that actually works. For some reason. I haven't worked out exactly why. But hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. The advantage to doing that is that you can then actually auto-generate things, and if there's a file missing for whatever reason in a data pack, it's able to just auto-generate it. But evidently I've hacked something up because this does not seem to want to work. Most of these recipes are in here, but just sort of like non-functional. Oh yes, unlike the 1.12 version, the water of the Alembic is actually completely driven by its tile entity. It is no longer part of the Alembic itself, or the block itself, which is pretty nice, actually, because it means I can do fun things like change what color the water is, that kind of thing. But anyways, that is what I've mostly been working on this past week, besides texturing, and today we are going to work on the notepad. This is notepad / clipboard. I kind of use the words interchangeably, but this is something that was available in Bibliocraft way back when, and it was quite easily the most useful thing in the hecking world if you were working on a really big project with a lot of intermediate steps, or you happen to be neurodivergent. Because my memory, as I've just described, is shot to hell, and has been my entire life. So, consequently, having the capacity to, make a list of all of the things that you needed to do and such, the next time you load up your worlds, was so incredibly useful. So useful. I could write down all of the crafting ingredients I need, and how much of them I need, and I could go, around and grab all the things without having to, check through the recipe book 15 times. That kind of thing. Now, I'm going to be trying to replicate a bunch of what Bibliocraft did. Bibliocraft, unfortunately, is not updated to 1.16. But I'm going to try and replicate as much as here of what it did as I can. The exception being, I don't think I'll be able to show what's written on the notepad in your hand, unless you actually open the thing. I could theoretically do this. I'm not 100% certain. I don't know how well I could theoretically do placing it on a wall, interacting with it and such. But I can definitely give it. I can definitely make this part work. The actual menu and such, the screen, typing in, all that sort of stuff. So hopefully, hopefully we manage that. So to that end, I do have a notepad item right here. Item notepad, and it's going to have a lot in common with books, as one might obviously expect. Doing blessed work of returning us the notepad. Yeah. So useful. Okay, so there's the that's the regular, just generic book item. I want the... Is it the book and quill? No, the writable book? Yes, it is. Okay, that's a bit more like it. So right-click opens up the actual screen, or else places it. On right-click opens the book. There you are. And then there's the MBT validation. Okay. So we are going to need... Is it worth extending from writable book item? There's the question. That theoretically will make it a little bit easier for us to deal with. Let's see. Client, player entity. Open book. Display GUI screen, edit book screen. Does that absolutely categorically need to be a book? From what I can tell, no. Now we're going to want to have a custom screen anyways, because this is just going to be lines and lines of text. We actually want the check marks and such. But it'll be a good jumping off point. So, the handy note jotter returneth. Yeah. Doing the Lord's work. Right. So let's start by just doing that. And that should hopefully mean we can actually just open the notepad book. Let's find out. Hello. How's you?
Good. I was thinking I might order something from Creams. Do you want anything?
Ooh, send me the list. Well, I don't know how much of it I can eat.
It's okay, me neither. Also, have you noticed that shiny new gas card?
I have noticed the shiny new gas card, yes. Good job on adulting and getting it installed.
Thank you.
So that we can not freeze to death this winter. Yeah, we ran out of gas credit on Sunday, and then there was a problem with PayPoint, which is the system we use for topping up stuff, basically, but we can only do that for like certain nearby supermarkets, effectively, and their system was down, like, all of Sunday, a decent chunk of Monday, to the point that I had to go to 3 different supermarkets yesterday, which is why my legs are really sore, because that's way out of my way. To find anywhere that worked. And then when I actually put the credit onto the meter here at the house, the meter registered we had credit, said that the gas connection was on, but nothing worked. The boiler wouldn't start, kept registering no gas, the cooker didn't work, so I couldn't cook last night either. And then we had like somebody come out from Northern Gas to evaluate it, and their determination was that the meter was bust. Unfortunately, they couldn't also replace the meter, so we had to call them up very early today, and they blessedly got here at like 1 PM, all under Fuzz's, like, guidance, because I was completely zonked by that point. And now we have a nice fancy gas meter, like, installed that we can even update with, like, top up without even leaving the building. So yay, we have heat. Okay. So here we have our notepad. If I right-click this, nothing happens, presumably because there's nothing here? Let's find out. Is there any check for the writable books? Let's find out. Yes, there is, right there, and I completely blanked over it. So if it's a writable book, then it displays that screen. Okay. I forget, do we have any blocks that actually have a UI in here? I don't think we do. Okay, right. That means we have to get a little sneaky already. So let me open up the various oddities workspace, because that has a block that's used for determining the boundaries of structures. So from there, we should hopefully be able to actually get things to work properly. So let's see, we need... What did I call it? I don't remember at this point. Drafting table, there you are. Okay. So, GUI drafting table. Exactly what we're looking for, effectively. So, Minecraft instance display GUI screen. Okay, gotcha. I'm just gonna drag this over here. And make ourselves a GUI notepad. Bit faster than I anticipated making an actual screen here, but oh well. Okay, and we want... Was it GUI book screen or something? I don't remember. It is edit book screen. Okay. So here's our golden standard, effectively. Because more or less, everything that happens here we want to be doing. We just have much smaller like lines of text to display, and we also need to include buttons that have a like click to change the value kind of thing. But okay, let's start by just having the book actually render. So let's see, for that, there should be a resource location for texture here. Noted pad, yes, a noted pad. Let's see, looking for the draw section. Render, right there. Okay. If we just grab this, we can effectively get this screen to do nothing, but to at least resemble the written book screen for the time being. It will have its own proper textures later, but for right now, it's fine. And I'll get a ripping out a lot of this anyways, but for now. So, book getting signed. Don't think we need that part. There is a bunch going on here. Okay. That, I think, is the actual piece we care about. So, let's just get rid of all that. Okay. And this function from our drafting table, GUI notepad, and we're going to need, do we need a player? Is the player relevant? Like, you don't sign a notepad, so I actually don't think the player is relevant at all. Yeah, by offer, right there. So player is not relevant, the book obviously is. So we need an item stack. To be on the safe side. Okay. Doesn't do anything right now, but we'll take it. Do I need to register the drafting table UI anywhere before I go gung-ho? Doesn't look like it. Yeah, literally nowhere. Good. Alright. So, there is where the book gets open. What we're going to do is call a reference to the GUI and tell it to open. Okay, so we want to say GUI notepad dot open item stack. Now, that should work. I'm just not 100% certain on whether it will function without the possibility of causing a crash on the server side. So let's just detail that a little bit more. By asking it if we're actually on the server side. And that should suffice. Okay. Let's see what we got. Unfortunately, creams is mostly ice cream kind of stuff. And I've still got a chunk of molar missing back here that I have not even heard back from my dentist about. It's not really causing me any pain, but it is kind of making it hard to consume anything that's cold. Okay, notepad. Right click. Screen. Good. Okay, we've got our own screen. So now we can start by adding text to it. Now how many lines does each page have here? There's the title, then there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 distinct lines of text. So when we generate this, we want to generate 9 lines of text per page with very limited actual, like, string widths, I guess the phrase would be. Tick boxes? Yep. Factoring in those two. So I guess what we need effectively is a book object containing containing a header as well as 9 distinct lines, each individually as its own object with a tick box. Effectively. So, private class pad page, I guess, is going to need private class pad line, and each page needs no list of pad lines. Have 9, and we'll just fill that with. Actually, it has to be nulls. It can't be null, can it? New pad line. There. That basically means that no matter what, every page definitively has those objects, so we can actually like get them. And then every line needs a text box with its, or I guess a text button. I don't know how they handle it these days. Book page, that'll help. Okay, points, book line. I guess that's what we're after. God, half of this isn't even remotely translated. Oh boy. Book line array? Okay. We also going to want to actually have like a header here, but is book line what we're after? That's from the edit book screen. Style, string, field. Okay, text components. What on earth has become of the edit book screen? I swear this used to be a lot simpler. Okay, let's go to, let's see, the repair container, anvil screen. There we go. Okay, inside of here is a name field, the text field widget. There we are. So that is very simply what we're after. It has, we can give it coordinates, we can give it like default text, we can give it exact character limits. So hopefully that'll be exactly what we're looking for. But that's not proprietary to the edit book screen either. Okay, if I'm talking very quickly right now, I apologize because it feels like I am. Okay. And is that just a... yeah, just a text field widget. Okay. Right. So every page has 9 lines and a header. Every line has a text field. Right. We're going to want to take the MBT data of the item stack and convert that then into a set of lines and pages. We're also going to want the capacity to actually have these pages write themselves to MBT data to store in the notepad. Okay. So we need public void write to MBT. I'm excited to have a Minecraft shopping list. It's so good! It's so useful. Especially when it gets to modded and you have like recipe chains to deal with, and each one has like distinct things that you need to do and distinct ingredients. And going through them all every single time you need to know what step you're on is an utter nightmare. But being able to just say, okay, go through the whole thing once, write it down in the notepad, job done. Okay, so compounds. Put string, or it's... Do we want it to just be a string, or should we go to the full iText component? It's probably fine to just have it as a string. Play so little modded because the overwhelming amount of info, but you're always covered in sticky notes when you do. Yeah. Okay, let's make a list MBT for all of that. And then append that to the compound. Okay, there we go. So, when you close out of this screen, we want to save the pages and then go through and check all and go through and store all of them to the actual notepad. We also are probably going to want to give the pages a number so we know which page they are, which will be important because we're going to want to make sure, like, there are occasions where you just want a blank page in short, but alternatively we could make sure that you can't have a blank page, so you never just have a page that's just like fully ticked up and that suddenly you can't get rid of. I'm just trying to think of how we can condense the item stack data, because in Bibliocraft they had 50 pages. So if we gave these things 50 pages, and every single page has 9 lines of text in it, each of which has a text string as well as an icon digit, that could be a lot of data per notepad, no less. So the more we can condense it, the better. And if you just have an empty page, then we don't want to care about it too much. So let's say if header empty, I guess? No? Just get the text and check if it's empty, I guess. So if it's not empty, do that. The next thing we probably want to check is, do we have any lines? There might be helpful to have a boolean for this. So is blank. So let's see. If not header get text dot is empty, then we at least have a title to it, even if we don't have any contents to it just yet. And then for each line in the lines, if not line dot is blank, return false there. Okay. Now what we can also do is append to the MBT data of each line its integer value inside of our inputs here. So right now we just have text lines. We will be adding widgets later on for the tick marks and such. Okay, line data dot put int index counts. I guess index makes the most sense. If line is blank, continue. So we only store lines that are actually meaningful, but we always know which order they're in. Okay. Next we need, of course, is a read from. So from the item stack, we get the data for the pages, and then each of those pages has internal data for what their header says, as well as everything else. Just steadily making it so that we can actually generate this whole thing from everything else. Okay, so need to generate a header first and foremost. It's not going to leave that few things, I'm sure. Okay, font renderer, and then a bunch of stuff apparently. Where's the book? Was it edit book screen? It's literally from screen. Okay. Where is that set? That's not... I don't see anywhere that that's actually set here. It's referenced. Ah, there we go. Minecraft.font renderer. I guess I need to give you a font renderer. Okay, fine. Pass that down anyways. Okay. I was hoping these would be labeled. Oh gods. Okay. Okay, well the first ones are definitely coordinates. The first two. That's gotta be width, that's gotta be height. if page data contains title, I believe strings are 8, then header, there's gotta be other ways to set the text, there you are. Page data dot get string title. Okay. Now he always generates 9 lines of our actual pads. So the next thing is be able to generate a pad from MBT as well. Right now it's fairly straightforward again. So that would be public pad line compound MBT compound, and we're going to get a font renderer in there as well, so that we can actually render anything. And we're probably going to need some kind of index so that it knows what level to generate these things at. So int record. So let's see. Probably worth having a secondary here, just so that we don't have to give it that. Okay. For int I equals 0, I is lower than... ooh, actually, we want to do this by... Do you want to code for the whole thing, or... Because the first we need to do is generate static initial default state. And then, if there's any non-blank lines on this particular page, we want to generate... Well, we want to go through them and insert their data into the specific slots. Okay. I'll be back in about 10 minutes, continuing to work through this. It will be a mess. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be a huge mess to start with, but we're gonna get somewhere tonight. So I will be back in a moment. Go take your meds, get your drinks, and the snacks, and such. Welcome back, everybody. We've had a nice little break there. We are currently endeavoring to create the data structure of a notepad, which is to say we need every single line of every single page, and since every single line has its own icon, we need 2 values per line, and then every page has 9 lines plus a header title, so we need 9 lines plus a header per page, and that's a lot of data. That's a lot of data to store, like, by itself, so we're making individual classes to handle each level of it. And currently, I believe I have the code put together to actually write the whole thing. I believe. So if we give this a list of MBT data, so a list of compounds, then it should generate a set of pages. To that end, we now have generate pages from pad up here, which is the function that we will be able to use up here to turn the data of our item stack, our notepad itself, into set of pages. Oh boy, find it fascinating how computers store and then display information in a format that seems simple. Yeah. For me, this is... I guess this is effectively a linguistic translation, to some degree. It's a matter of, here's all the things that you need to make a thing, now make the thing. Essentially. Okay, so, if... Well, actually, I've typed an else if, why not? Helps if I can type else, there we go. Else if compound.contains a list of MBT data called pages, which will be... I can't remember what list MBT is. I know compounds themselves are 11. They are ID number 9. Okay. Which reminds me, I should put that there. Okay. Alright, so... list MBT pages equals compound get list pages, and these are compounds that we're looking for, so there. For int I equals 0, I is lower than the number of elements in pages. Pages.add new pad page font pages, get that compound. There. Actually, that's the wrong thing. Okay, I need to rename that. There. Make sure pages is empty. Okay. So if there's no data, because it's a brand new, fresh notepad, we'll always start with 1 page. And otherwise, if there's data stored in there, then we want to do that. We should... when we're going to storing all of the pages in the item stack, we need to make sure that we store a compound per thing for, like, every index that we've used. Which can theoretically mean that we have 50 pages in our whole thing here, but... assuming that they're mostly blank, that should just mostly be bloat. It should be fine. Not massively, like, pain in the neck if you're trying to edit the MBT data or something, but it should be fine. Okay. So now, we need an item stack. Or actually, we need a compound MBT here of write pages to MBT. And for that, we need to go through all of our pages and call write to MBT on them there. So, turn that. So we need a list MBT of page list. And then for int I equals 0, I is lower than pages.size. Pages get I dot write to MBT. Make it a fresh one. And just like our lines, are going to give these an index. Okay, now the one floor here... Actually, do we even need the index? If we just have an empty MBT string, it should be fine. It'll just give us a blank anyway, so it should be okay. Okay. So, let's see, where's Ed on close? There you are. Not quite. Send book to server is close, but not quite what I'm after. I think on close is what I'm after, but not quite doing what it's currently doing. Because we want to make sure that you always store whatever's in the notepad when you're closing it. Okay, so this notepad set tag this notepad get tag. I want to say write pages to NBT that. Okay, that will have diddly squat effect, but it'll give me something I can read out. So, system.out.println this.notepad.get tag. Okay. So when we load it, we generate them. When we close it, we save them. If that's the case, then I should be able to close this. I should be able to click it open, close it, and then the data will actually spit out and say, hey, there's pages here, even if they're blank. Should mostly just say 1. It won't render any differently yet, but getting there. I don't know if anyone's used all 50 pages of a bibliograph notepad, but I'm fairly certain I imagine somebody does. People are writing fan fiction into their Minecraft worlds on a notepad? On like a checklist? What? Okay, no data there. Open it up. Nothing to see. Pages. Good. Very good. We have a blank page, but it's a page nonetheless. Good. Okay. So now let's generate these with actual meaningful data, so we'll say page n. So I think you can think of needing 50 of those pages, I guess. And then the lines. Line of text. There we go. The list of sets to make and scenes to record and oh god, yeah. That's definitely something I would use this for. Dear god. So now we should see a little bit more detail to that, because now our lines aren't blank and our page isn't blank. So we should see all the data of this line, or of this page, added through, and then we'll just try and we'll try and get those rendering relatively simplistically. It will not look good. Never come to one of these streams expecting me to make something that looked brilliant by the end of it, especially when it's UI code. Oof. Okay. So notepads, back to having nothing. Generate stuff. Okay, we do have a problem. Pages, little bit. Despite the fact that it should absolutely have data to it. So what went wrong there? Because it should... Ah, if it contains that, then get it. And then should the lines also have made text? Because right there... Well, I guess they do that, have that right there. But that should be an if.
I don't know what y'all think, but I think that's pretty.
Why do we not have the data stored? That's the question here. Right, time to see the get the text. Yes, the text should be by default line of text. So what happened? It shouldn't read as blank unless our metric of a text field being empty is wrong. That's the only thing I can think of. What is empty measured here? Value.length equals 0. Okay, well you definitely shouldn't be, because you should be doing that. Okay, let's try... Just trying to think here. If it reads as blank, then it doesn't get stored at all. If it doesn't read as blank, then we should at least have a field that says text on it. But we don't. We also don't have one for the title, which uses the exact same check. So what's going on here? If not blank, do all that. Good. Okay, what's going on here? Meaning we either have a header name or we at least have one non-blank line. And I am putting this into the compound, so that's good. Let's find out if that's the problem. See if it's the blank check. Which I guess also constitutes an is-empty check, but... Here's a question. Should the notepad pause the game when you're in the UI? I don't think it comes up very much, but that is actually like a legit thing to do. It's like hitting the inventory screen in like an Elder Scrolls game or something. Stuffing your face full of sweet rolls, except in here you're presumably dictating all the things all of your mistakes before you died. Page is blank. Okay, so it's the blank check. That's why we're not seeing any data stored. Next question. Why? They should be given like details. Does reading a book in Minecraft pause the game? I believe it does. But it could very well be one of these things is telling it. But let's see, that's... Nope. Key pressed, nope. Key pressed in title, nope. I don't see a boolean in here that would suggest to me that it does. The notepad probably should, I guess, especially if you need to use it while running, like if you want to use it to mark your coordinates. Yeah. Although, what good is marking your coordinates if you're about to die? Because then you'll drop the notepads. At that point, it's inferior to just like hitting F3 and F2. I am a fool who plays with keep inventory. Fair, yeah. Like, if you'll somehow keep your inventory, then sure. Okay, that'll give us step-by-step verification here to find out what's going on. If somehow the header isn't reading some kind of text, like, is it the get text part? This dot text, okay. You initialize with a text component. But is that not the text? It isn't, as near as I can tell. Okay, right. That could be the problem then. Just do that, and that should hopefully clear up this problem. Yeah, I probably should have realized a lot sooner that the fact that I'm giving it a string text component, but we're setting text as strings, should indicate, yeah, that maybe I'm setting the wrong thing. It's like when you try to make a chocolate cookie using only blueberries or something. Okay, so we're just looking for data a book being properly composed into MBT data, which our item can then store. That's what we're looking to happen here. Can we convey all of the data of a notepad into an item data, an item data structure? Because that's kind of a big deal. Aha, okay. It's way down here if you can't tell. Pages, title, page N, lines, line of text, index 1, 2, 3, all the way to 8 from 0. Okay, so that's a page titled page N, and all of its text lines say line of text. Good. Okay. Now we need essentially a set page function so that we can clear out our button list and whatnot and add all of the pieces, the widgets of the page we are currently on. Isn't there a get or a default? I could have sworn there was. Oh well. Alright. I would... No, we don't need to render the current page, because we just need the pieces of the current page. So let's see. Where's the anvil screen? Your text field. Children appears to be the thing I'm after. That's a sentence that I just said. Okay. And that's a list of widgets, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe, a little bit, not sure. Let's have a dive. IGUI event listener, so yes it is. Okay. So, get current page. Probably would be better to have a function in our page thing to say, like, register widgets and such. And is that just list IEGI? Okay. And then same for all of our pages, or all of our lines rather. So that would be pad line and lines line dot register widgets. For now, it's just the text field. Okay. So we call, well, we clear out the list first, and then we say get current page dot register widgets list.children. Okay, that should get something displaying. Won't be very good, but it should be displaying, because that, I believe, is called for rendering. In all of its buttons. There's children and there is buttons. This is worrying. Well, let's find out. Graphics code is certainly and decidedly not my passion, but here we go. We don't currently have a limit of how many pages a given notepad can have, but on the other hand, we also don't have a procedure to add buttons, well, to add pages just yet. We will be adding one. Nine lines is not useless, but it's also not the most useful it could theoretically be. Okay, nothing to display. Or at least nothing is displaying currently. So we probably need to add buttons to render those. Does this count as a button? It's a widget. iRenderable. Where does that get called? I'm guessing somewhere inside of screen. But only because it itself is renderable. Okay. So that's not the thing I need. Buttons are a list of widgets, that's probably what I need. When I use Eclipse, it's just the thing I'm most used to. Before it, I used Notepad++. So, for me, this is a big upgrade. Wait until you find IntelliJ. Oh, believe me, I've had so many people try to turn me out of that already. Am I even doing this right? Here's the question. How... Let's see. Book page has points and... yeah, that's just... That's way, literally the anvil screen is actually the closest thing we need. So, let's see. Resize, key pressed, render name field. Where does that get called? Near as I can tell, never. Abstract repair screen, there you are. Okay, yeah. So effectively we're going to need a render page element. Okay. Fine by me. Matrix stack, oh yeah, all good stuff. The standard usual stuff. And one for each line. Okay, AI is very much more my wheelhouse, but here we are. So for each line. There. Okay. Yeah, we didn't need that in the end. So now we should actually show some stuff. Let's see. It'll be probably way off target and basically worthless value, but it should be present at the very least. And a lot of the time, making something that looks utterly hideous on camera is actually very meaningful progress. It's like when you're baking a cake and it doesn't look remotely like what you intended, but it does smell like chocolate when you put it into the oven. Most cookies do not look like cookies until they come out of the oven. Okay, we still don't have anything rendering. But we know that there is data being added. Oh, I'm an idiot, that's why. I didn't get the current page to render it. Ah, okay. There. There's always a moment like that whenever I'm on camera. Whenever I'm off camera, it's I've done everything exactly precisely as it should be done and it's not working. On camera, it's not working because I didn't type a single line that makes it work. Always the way. Okay. And there was a problem the second I right-clicked. What we got? Error rendering from the text field widget. Okay. Which was a null pointer. apparently. That's kind of impossible. Because it has to be declared. It can't be null. That's actually impossible. So how did that happen? Okay. Every page, mandatorily, on instantiation, has to have a header. So what happened? It's not that the page didn't exist. But just in case it is, somehow, like maybe it tried to render before it had actually generated the pages. Let's do a check. Let's do a check for get current page does not equal null. Mark that as being handled for nulls. Okay. So if get current page is null, it doesn't try to do that. This is a really old shirt, I just realized. Can anyone guess what this is a shirt of? This is from like 2012 or something. Okay, try again. We still have a null somewhere. Okay. GUI notepad called get current page, render page. And then the text field widget was somehow still null. How? Should it not have some kind of, like, default value? It should be set to page n on instantiation. Null pointer at text? Is either the text or the font renderer. It might be the font renderer, come to think of it. Yeah, I don't think I set the font. That could be why. That could be it. Still, it's good to have null, like, markers at least. This dot font equals Minecraft instance font renderer. Okay. Let's see what we got. Yeah, the answer is, this is a game t-shirt showing Rivian. It was chucked at me by AJ from Game T at an insomnia convention. Not a convention of I guess in a way a convention of insomniacs, considering it was like, it's basically a LAN fest. It was, I think this was from like the first convention I attended that included the LXG crew from Chaosville. which is very entertaining because I also went there with the 8-bit monkey. And Monkey and I are, generally speaking, on lower orders of magnitude than most of the other people that were in Chaosville. So I was just wandering around with, like, my mates, as it were, and then Monkey was alongside me. It was just like, who is this? Thank you for introducing me to them. Hey, we got something. Okay, it's maybe not rendering the way I'd like, but that is progress. Okay, we have text, and we can see what the text is. And we crashed when I tried to open it a second time. What happened that time? Part of the inits? I guess because current page was null somehow? Let's see. Yeah, the only way that can happen is if the current page is null. Okay, right. We probably want to also store what page it's currently on, but for right now, displaying pages, period, is good. What's your complaint? Cannot convert from GUI notepad page to int. Oh, right, yes. Right, yeah. Call that page index, I guess. That was a weird old time when I was relevant. Okay. Handling here so that it at least has a greater chance of coming up with a non-null. If there are no pages, obviously we have a problem, so let's just generate a blank page. Much as we do up here. Now it should be basically incapable of generating a null. It should always be able to generate something. If there are no pages, we generate a blank one. If your page index is greater than the number of pages that exists, we clamp it down to the very last page we have. So no matter what, it should return a page. So it shouldn't be possible for that to be null, I think. But you never know. Okay. So next, let's see, what do we want next? We probably, I mean, typing on it would be a good thing to have, I guess. That would probably be a wise thing. I'm probably going to update the listeners here. So set current page, as it were. That time we do want to call get current page just to make sure. Okay, so we generate the pages, we set our current page to 0, we'll tie that to the data of the notepad later, and then it clears all the listeners and registers the listeners of the current page. That should mean, maybe a little bit, not 100%, that we can click on these things. What I'm going to do... where are you? Where's Renderline? There you are. Because there's some details of the anvil screen's display. I'm going to borrow here. Simple text color, background drawing, there you are. Let's see. Is there anything else in here? Can lose focus? No. Text color. I think it's kind of okay, but we'll change it for the moment anyways. -1 I believe is white. And we'll set the max string length. To 20 for the moment. Okay. So, next question. What are we gonna be doing? Make this work. Is this called anywhere? Init fields. Presumably that's called from somewhere. Init. Apparently. Yep. Just init right there. Okay. And there's my keyboard going wonky again. Okay. Now there's a possibility current page can be null, because that's where we generate the pages. That should be okay, I think. Do I want to add ticks? Probably. Yeah. I imagine our pages and our line's going to need ticking. Okay. I think everything else is more or less good. Right. Let's run it, see how we've managed to change anything. If indeed we've changed anything. Remember, we're still not saving data. We are like compressing it to a savable format, but we're not actually telling the server that the item's data has changed. My main question is, have I just introduced more bugs? Okay, we are focused on that. And we can go to these ones. Good. Okay. It's a little wonky on where it should be, but, you know, it's a start. Okay. Good, good, good. I think I'm gonna want to pick a kind of subtle grey, but yeah, it's fine. Okay. Now that it's ticking, it can actually detect if we're currently focused on something. So the next thing I need... I'm just gonna go to page. And do similar setup. To the header. Let me just have a private integer up here real quick. That way I don't need to go through everything if I want to change it. Okay. So the next thing we need is the condition of going through and basically clicking to add pages or to go to a pre-existing page. If the last page on a notepad is blank, should we even bother saving it? Like if somebody clicks to like page 50 but only actually uses up to page 4, do we want to store all 50 pages even though there's like 46 blank? That's the question for me. I feel like it's probably worth trimming at that stage. Yeah, that's some buttons. I don't need that open. Okay. Let's add a check here. We can do that. So public void trim blank pages. Last page equals 0 for and I equals 0. Yeah, I equals 0. I is lower than pages dot size. I plus plus. If not page dot is blank, then last page equals I. Okay. And then for int, let's see, I equals last page plus 1. I is lower than pages dot size. I plus plus. Okay, pages dot remove I think. There's a slight problem if the last page is like actually the final index. If last page equals pages dot size minus 1, then there. Except I feel like that's going to be a little wrong. Because as it's going through the pages list, it's going to be altering it. that should work. I think. Never know. Of course, right now we don't have the possibility of having a blank page. Because there's default values to these pages. So another thing we should render actually is the actual, we know our current page index, so we should probably render that. Just so you know exactly which one. Okay, so generate pages from pad is called by our write pages to MBT. There you are. So trim blank pages. And it shouldn't have an issue with it, I think. If pages dot size oh, if pages is not empty, really. It can be empty as a consequence of trimming the blank pages. There. Anyways, I'll be back in about 10 minutes, and we'll see if we can get additional pages working. See you then. Welcome back, everybody, the final hour of our evening. Tonight we have been working on notepads, and we have managed to get a full data structure working. We've got a basic rendering of all the different lines that we need in each page of each notepad, and I have just, over the course of the break there, quickly implemented a update packet that gets sent to the server when you close the screen to hopefully, fingers crossed, actually make sure that our data is properly stored. Let's find out if that has worked, or if I've just created another massive problem. Strictly speaking, I should probably also be like booting the server every time I do this, but there is also currently a bug in the codebase of various equipment which prevents worlds from generating. I don't know why, because it doesn't cause a crash, so I don't get an error message. All I know is that it stops at like 1 or 2% whenever a world is loading. Obviously, doesn't happen with pre-existing worlds, because this one loads just fine. Right? Yes. Okay. So, currently no data. Open it up. Let's type, like, can we type even? For that matter? No, because we haven't actually put typing into this yet. That's something I should bear in mind, isn't it? And if we exit, we now have data. Okay, very good. It's an empty list for the most part, but it's there. Okay, anvil screen. Should have some details in its name field. Okay, there we go. So key pressed, if name field key pressed and can write, super key pressed, okay. I think that's mainly what we want currently. Yeah, I think that's the thing we want. Right there. Let me just crack that out over here. It's a fairly chill day, metaphorically and literally. So, I know, I feel a little bit Barbarossa tonight. Okay, public boolean, key pressed, code, scan code, and any modifiers, which means like if you're holding shift, that kind of thing. If it is the escape key, then close the screen. Then we need to get the current page, get whichever field inside of it is currently focused, because of course we have 10 per page. So it's probably worth us... I'm guessing with text widgets that if we click on them, we actually do get some kind of notion of are we focused. Like, there must be an on-click point, surely. All that stuff. Mouse clicked, visible, set focused. I think. Is focused, there we go. Okay, that's probably what we need. Right. So we want a text field widget. Get focused. If header is focused, then return header. Otherwise, go for our lines and check if any of them are focused. Okay, so text field widget focused field equals, let's see, does our current page equal null? And null, otherwise current page get focused. if focused field does not equal null, then try to think here. Return focused field equals null or not focused field dot key pressed and not focused field dot can write. Okay, I think it's a little nebulous, but I think that'll let us actually type. And hopefully adding hopefully adding page navigation will be straightforward. Page navigation should, by all rights, be straightforward, but I guess we'll find out. Okay, so... Nope, we still can't type. What are these little bars here are in the book texture? That's interesting. Is that part of the binding? It is weird that books in Minecraft render more like notepads than anything else. It's like they're the way that they're textured, the icon would suggest that you would open them like this. But here, they're clearly just layers of paper on a piece of leather. Which I guess is how you craft them anyways, but it's weird. Okay, why can we not type? That is the question here. We do allow our... Let's set focus default, I don't... that part's not a problem. Is that true by default, I wonder? Oh boy, this is way down from where it started. Yeah, by default. If true, the text box can lose focus by clicking elsewhere on the screen. Okay. Just wanted to make sure of that. One other quick little thing I'm going to do is there is a function in the page that determines exactly where each like where the distinction between each line, essentially. Yeah, that should do. I'm just gonna add a few more points between them. Okay. Let's also, for the lines, re-enable the background drawing just so we can see the distinction between them a bit better. So what is going on? Like, are we not finding a focused text field? Is that it, maybe? That's the only thing I can think of. Where's can write check? Checks if it's visible, if it's focused, and it's enabled. They should all be enabled by default. They're all visible, clearly, because they're rendering. So the only thing that changes is, are they focused? So let's just have ourselves a quick little thing here to say, are we actually in a focused field? In text field plus blah. Focused field does not equal null. How's everybody's week been so far? Mine, as I've stated, has been quite chilly. Okay, so, notepads, there's a lot of different lines. Yeah, okay, so it is... not equal? Does not equal null. Yeah, it is not able to find the focused text field. Okay. So consequently, everything we type is just going to the major part of the notepad. Right. How do we fix that then? If nothing is registering as focused, despite the fact it's clearly displaying some kind of value. Let's check text widget. Let's find out. Because it's clearly displaying a blinking cursor. Which only happens if it's focused. Right? What is going on? The only thing that can make sense there is if the current page reads as being null. Somehow. Again, is also similarly impossible because we're displaying it. But the trouble with programming is humans live in a universe. We live in a place where all of the laws of physics and such are decided and everything has been nailed out, hammered down, that kind of thing. Computers don't have that. The only universe they live in is specifically and only what you've told them. They don't have this implicit thing of, if you jump high enough, you leave the world, that kind of thing. You leave orbit. They don't even have the notion that if you stand in fire, you will burn, unless you've told them as much. The programmer for reality was extremely thorough. Well, for the most part, the universe is just a physics engine that's been left to run for a very, 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 very long time, so that's... Okay, so if I type something now, we do have a page, and we are apparently in a text field, but if I click into a different text field... How is the only text field I'm getting any kind of response from the one that's up here, and even that's not typing anything. Yeah, this is weird. But if I don't actually add data to this, then it's just going to trim it off when we send it. Humdy hum. Okay, so there is something weird in how I'm doing this. But we can lose focus, is the thing. Because we need to be able to tick into each individual ones. In theory, I could write this like a book, and say that the right-hand side of this where all the text is just one huge, like, trimmed kind of, like, sequence of text. But this is a lot better, suffice to say. This is a lot more concise for the exact use case that we have here. I get the feeling that this isn't even where it's going through. Can write. It's just that. We are registering all of the listeners. We know that. Here's a question. Are any of the listeners... Are there any listeners by default inside of here? I don't think there are, but just in case. No, it doesn't look like it. So I think it's fine. Get current page does make sure we always have something there. Can I give these things names, perchance? Is that a thing I can do? Nope. Accepting by that, I guess. This is very weird. Okay. Let's just try rendering out our current page number. And then we can try adding a button for that. There has to be... Okay. Where is that called? Yeah, there we are. That's what I need. As part of the render. That'd be string dot value of. Okay, that should just put a 0 or a 1 in the middle of our screen. Just make sure. And then we just need to add some buttons. Just a couple of buttons. We can add more buttons to our lines once we can actually type in them. I mean, so far it's not useful. So far it's not functional, but it is very close to functional. 1. Very good. Okay, so now we need a couple of buttons. Next page and previous. should be able... Let's see, definitely got some UIs somewhere that generate buttons. There we are, okay. So let's see, that's 2 coordinates, and then a size, which for the book screen, or the page button, is 23 by 13. This doesn't need to actually be stored, we just need to have it. So every time that's clicked, this dot page index plus plus set current page to this dot page index, which then refreshes everything, makes sure it all runs quite happily. Let's see. Current page index, get current page. It won't automatically generate a new one. So that's a thing that we'll need to check for. If this dot page index is greater than or equal to this dot pages dot size pages add a blank page. And climb it to there. Okay. Whereas the other one, this dot page index minus minus to reduce it. Page index then needs to be clamped to 0. And then same again. So if we go higher than our current list of pages, we generate new page, a new page. If we go lower, we just can't get below 0. Hopefully. Let's find out. And we don't store what page we're currently on in the item, so currently it'll reset to 0 every time. Assuming this works, I should hesitate to say. All fairly straightforward. Of course, in reality, we would be storing these values of buttons and saying that the back button is disabled if we are at page 1. Okay. And we can't go past page 2, nor can we go back. Okay. Because the world crashed. Okay, what happened? Array list error. Trim blank pages. Well, I was right. I was right that would cause some kind of problem eventually. Okay. I might be able to do this a bit easier. So it's all the elements in the specified collection into this list at the specified position. Not quite. I want a subset of pages. Sublist? I guess, yeah. So 0 to last page. So if it's the end of that, then it shouldn't care too much, but then we get the subset, we clear it. Should be fine. It actually had pages to trim, which is why it actually finally triggered. Exhaustive testing I do not do. Okay. Why do we only get one click? And there's a crash. Is it the same crash? Array list, add all to array size, check for co-modification. Returns a view of the portion of this list between the specified from index inclusive to index exclusive if from index to to index the list returned is empty. Is that going to be happier for you? Okay, so trying to think, how do we handle what's going on with this button? It only crashes when I hit escape from the screen, so then the trim blank pages gets called in. So what's happening here? In fact, for the moment, I'm just going to go so far as to turn that off. So what's happening with the page index? We... Oh, +1. Oh, and minus. That'd be why. That could be it. Because then our current page is null. What I could also do is just add a clamp function into set current page. That'd do the trick. Between 0 and pages.size. Okay, so well, we don't crash, so that's something, but we do still get stuck at 2. Which is 2 blank pages, which is progress, at least. But we can't go past 2. Why can't we go past 2? let's start by saying if page index is lower than this top page's dot size, otherwise add a new page. Yeah, if it's lower than that, then we don't need to work. The highest possible index value that you can have in a list, based on the fact that they're based on 0, is the size minus 1. So if it's lower than that, we don't need to worry, but if it otherwise is, then we need to do that. So, greater than or equal to, say. That should mean that it actually increases, but let's find out. And we don't need that anymore because the current page will actually handle that for us. I don't think in Bibliocraft, at least in the more recent versions, what you can do is read parts of it on the held item itself. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that inside of the model system, because the version that Bibliocraft is on predates the current models of items and whatnot. But I could add some details from the data of the current page of the notepad to the actual tooltip, so at the very least you can just check it that way. You don't have to open the whole thing. Increment it to 1, and then completely non-functional, I see. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's causing that. I get one button click, and then the whole thing breaks. What is causing that? What is that play turn sound? Okay, that's not relevant for us. Why are we not able to push buttons? What is this for? I don't know. We push it once, and then everything shuts off, it feels. And I don't know why that would be. See, there's the point. Yep. Get current page should always... Yep, collapse that. That's fine, but we add a page when we're incrementing anyways. So set the current page. Init. Maybe that'll help it. I don't know. It's a very strange thing we have going on here. We've kind of got 2 pages. I think it is something to do with the text fields. The text fields feel like there is something off with them. There's already a problem by the looks of it. Nope, we're good, okay. Hooray! There we go. And we can still interact with those, okay. But we can't interact with the ones on the next page. Okay. It suggests that there's something weird going on with the preceding page, so we probably need to tell that we're no longer focused on it. I think. So defocus page, effectively. If this.current page does not equal null, then this.current page dot we must defocus, I guess. And then new page header. Where's the part where we told it was focused? I think we got rid of that, so I don't think it's necessary. Sets focus there. Okay, that. Thank you for that, Am. Clear on is why it's set focused to. It just calls set focused. Why is there a set focused to in that case? Okay, so that'll defocus the current one we're on, if we are on one, and then it will focus to the new one. Alright, it won't focus the new one, but it will allow us to make sure we have focus there, at the very least. Where's get current page? So, yep. And that is called... nowhere, apparently? Init, there you are. Yeah. Okay, where is set current page called from? Generate pages from pad. Right, that's a thing we'll need to fix up then. if index equals this dot page index, we can just return. And then our init function sets the focus to page. So all should be right with the world. For a certain measure of right. Oh, hang on, I think I see a potential infinite loop. Nope, I think we're good. We don't call a init in here, or else that would call a loop there. I think it's going to take me a bit to get typing working, but we've got most of the things we need. Trouble is, everything else I have for reference here only has the one text field. Okay, now we can type on things. Or rather, now we can click on things. We can't type in them just yet, but we're working on it. And we have a bunch of blank pages there. Good. Well, not good. We want to trim that down so we don't have needlessly massive notepads, but that's good. Means we're actually clicking through to them. So let's just private button next page and private button previous page. Previous page dot active equals previous page dot visible equals this dot page index is greater than 0. Next page active and visible equals pages dot size. Actually, we want page index lower than 49. So that sets how many pages we can actually have in this thing. And they call init whenever they get clicked, so we should constantly be updating that. Okay, let's re-enable trim blank pages. And hopefully this will work all right. It's just looking for the last blank page. Pardon me. Oh, the last non-blank page, rather. So if the last non-blank page is page 50, we still store 50. Even if that's the only non-blank page. But that's a fairly specific and somewhat trolly use case, so I'm not hugely worried about it. You never know. Okay, so as we can see, the buttons vanish and appear. Very grand, very good. And if I hit escape, no trouble. If we check the data, yep, not illusioner, thank you. Item. We see that we still have 5 pages. Why do we have 5 pages? There we have one. Hello, Lucian. I see you sneaking in. At the 11th, well, almost the 12th hour, but still. Okay. We probably want to have some kind of data structure inside of item notepad to find what the current selected page and such says. Just so that we can actually append some of that data, at least, to the tooltip of the item. But okay, so we've got the page trimming, we've got different pages and navigation between them, we have storage of those pages, and each of those pages has its own internal data, which is perfectly stored as well. We just can't currently type into anything. But we are extremely close to replicating the Bibliocraft clipboard. Obviously, it doesn't look a damn thing like it right now, but we nonetheless have the majority of this functionality implemented. Just not typing, which is kind of the main important one, and we don't have the tick boxes yet. But those are a simple button that just increments its state, effectively. That's fairly simplistic to do. So if we go to here, let's give ourselves a integer, I guess. So icon index. Start that at 0. Is blank, then needs to check. Icon index equals 0. Okay. Compound, put int, box, I guess. There. And here we want to say icon index equals compound.getInt box. There. Now our paths have 2 values stored in them. Which means I've technically just doubled the amount of data involved here, but it's fine. That, I believe, defaults to 0. Yes. Okay. So even if it's not there, it'll still show. In which case, if icon index does not equal 0, then blank. That's one piece of information that we don't need to have if there's nothing in it. Let's see, if text field get text.isEmpty. There. We are trying to store only the very bare minimum of data that we need, because that'll keep these things nice and cheap, memory-wise. There is a thing, actually, when it comes to books in Minecraft. There is a recurring thing that if you have a long enough, densely worded book, you can overflow the server and effectively prevent it from saving a given chunk that book happens to be in. And that is one way that people have used to... I think in the case of Hermitcraft, it was used for time travel, to undo things that happened, because they just weren't saved. But, it's a pretty bizarre thing. So we're just trying to make the notepad only has a max of 50 pages, but we're trying to make sure we don't get to that kind of level of things. But for the most part, I need to make it pretty. It'll need its own texture. I'll need to actually arrange the elements to be properly where they should be, but it's pretty close to good. It mostly just needs the capacity to type. That is it. But let's try and add, like, some meaningful data. Or actually, no, I'm already over time. Scratch that. Trying to think here. What item has, like, what item do I already have that has some tooltip information? None of them, I think. Nope, there doesn't appear to be anything there. I'm sure I've had something, but I don't remember what it was. It's gonna bug me. Okay. Add information, something to that effect. What's the name of it? There you are. Okay, yeah. So we're just gonna take that. We're going to try and figure out at the very least how many pages there are. So for that we need compound nbt stack data equals stack.get tag. If stack data dot contains pages of type 9, that is a list nbt pages equals stack data dot get list. Helps if I can type. Those are type 11. Okay, so let's see. Tooltip dot add string text component pages dot size. Is that not? Oh right, yes. String dot value off. So we don't currently have a actual check of. We don't currently store what page we were on. Okay. Let's see. And current page would be compound nbt at that. If pages dot size is greater than 0, I suppose I should say. Just in case. And then trying to think here. Tooltip dot add string text component. I would actually be translating these if this was going to stick anywhere. Stick around. That would be current dot get string title. And then in theory we run through, check how many are actually like on what icon, and add that to the data as well. So it sort of gives you a not comprehensive view, but something that tells you a little bit about what's going on. Let's see. Phew. So last summary, we have ourselves a notepad item. That notepad item contains a NBT, or item data, structure, which delineates individual pages, each with its own title, as well as 9 lines of text. We have a UI that allows us to access and navigate through those pages, and hopefully now we have an item tooltip that gives us a little bit of information as to what is actually on the current page, which is currently 0, but that we can change momentarily. So let's see here. 0 pages currently, because we don't have the capacity to type just yet. So it's trimming down to 0. That should probably be 1. It should logically say at least 1. So, ideally, let's see. We want to do a breakdown of which lines are on which icon, ignoring anything that's empty. much information would you want to be able to see in a tooltip? Would you want to be able to read every line of that current page, or would you just want some kind of basic summary? Like number like set to blank icon, number set to tick icon, number set to cross icon, that kind of thing. Would that be meaningful value? Would that be a useful thing to know? Like having some measure of progress, I guess, would be handy. Evil plan, stage 4. Well, I will leave that for next time when I'm actually hopefully able to type into this box. Otherwise, hope you all enjoyed. My next stream will be on the Thursday, probably with some more Sea of Thieves, although what exactly we're going to get up to, I don't know, because the only Tall Tales left to do are... They involve Johnny Depp, so I'm not necessarily very fond of that notion. Otherwise, on Saturday, we should have the carousel at 9, and we'll be back for more of this next week. Meanwhile, I do make videos over youtube.com/rumorcomic, and everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying. Otherwise, hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever next time. I made this hat. This is like so cruddy and yet I made it. I'm so pleased.